waiting for the glasses to defog, and we are in business. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Chag Sameach. We will also be celebrating the week-long festival of Sukkot, one of my favorite holidays, and one of the fall festivals. I'm pleased to be here this evening to enjoy services with you. Joining me on the bima, our soloist, Allison Rosoff, and Tim Berneman is going to be our accompanist once again. If you have a prayer book before you, you can turn to page 344 in Mishkan Tefillah, Dwelling Place of Prayer, or you can feel free to just watch the screen before you. And we'll be singing Shir Hadash. Sing a new song. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir hadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir hadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God all the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir hadash. I will sing unto God a new song. This evening we'll be lighting the Shabbat candles following the singing of Debbie Friedman's Light These Lights. Of course, we celebrate Shabbat, and also it's a Yom Tov, it's a festival evening.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
In your prayer books, we're on page 2. Just be sure to add the Shel Yom Tov at the end for the festival.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov.
Blessed are you, God, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat as well as Yom Tov, the festival evening. And for reaching this time in the season, let's sing the Shechianu together.
Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh Thank you, God, for our lives, for sustaining us and allowing us to reach this moment. So as you see before you, we have some special objects for today. First, our etrog in this beautiful early 20th century sterling silver etrog holder. And there's just nothing like, you can smell it right through your screen. I know you can. Nothing like the scratch and sniff and smelling an etrog. It's one of my favorite smells of the year. We also have our lulav for our spine, the arava, which are supposed to be shaped like leaves. These are the willows, and the hadas, the myrtle branches. Actually, the myrtles are the eyes, and the arava are like lips, and all of these together make up our lulav and etrog set. God of Israel, let our senses be filled with love for you and all your creation, and let our harvest and our celebration be shared with all. We'll continue on page 24 with the words of Shalom Aleichem, welcoming the Shabbat angels, the Melachim, the messengers in our lives.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Our segue to Shema and its blessings is the Chatzi Kaddish, the half Kaddish, which you can find on page 26.
Yitkaral v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, b'yamad yivrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei de kol beit Yisrael, bagala bagala, u'v'zman kariv, v'imaru amen. Yeshmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olam me'amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vipar, Viroma, Vidnase, Vidhadar, Vidale, Vidalal, Shemei de Kudisha Brihu, Le'elam in Kol Birchata Vishirata, Tushbechata Venechemata, Damin Ran Ve'amma, V'imaru, Amen.
Let's rise for Shema and its blessings. Page 28, you'll find the words of Barhu, the call to prayer. Continue with a prayer thanking God for the order of the cosmos and the coming of evening. Ma'ariv Aravim, page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach she'arim, bitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla goel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. Ma'avir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil ben yom u'ben layla. Adonai tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. And on 32, words of love, ahavat olam. Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we'll meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. Then your love shall never depart from our hearts. We praise you, Eternal One, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We open up our eyes together. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue on 36, the words of V'ahavta, you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavcha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshatam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uv'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And just a word on the melody that you're going to hear for Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha is somewhat of a chameleon of sorts among the prayers, meaning that at different times of the year and in different seasons, there can be a different melody for Mi Chamocha. So for Sukkot, there is a special melody. It's a traditional tune called a Na'anuim, and it's a very different melody. We're going to go through it twice. So hopefully by the second time, you might be able to join in. Mi Chamocha is on 40 in your prayer books. It is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And Sukkot is all about shelter. And the Hashivenu prayer on page 42 or on the screen before you is all about God's protective power to give us strength when we need it, whether for illness or just for support and courage. So we're going to sing Hapores Sukkot Shalom, which are the closing words of the Hashivenu prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hapores Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Hapores Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael.
Bless you, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem, over Jerusalem. Please rise now for the words of the Tefillah, our standing prayers, which begin on page 46.
Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi agita hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Choneh Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol. Atah rav la'oshia, morid atal. Mechachel chaim bechesed, Mechayei Hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, umechayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom elach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Hakol.
Atah kadosh v'shem kadosh, u'kadoshim b'kol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Feel free to be seated. The next three blessings on the slide before you are for the holiness of the day, for prayer, and for thanks. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat, and Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'Tzion. Blessed are you, God, whose presence returns to Zion, to Israel. And Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lechodot. And our prayer of peace, Shalom Rav, will sing following these moments of silent prayer and reflection.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
On page 253, if you're using a prayer book, you'll find the words to Misha Barach, our prayer for illness and healing. As especially this evening, we think of the first family for prayers for healing, as well as all those affected by COVID. We also think of Laura Barnett, Joanne Beeman Feidelman, Herb Bloom, Selma Bowman, Sarah Brown, Roy Bryant, Marcy Bunn, Linda Cohen, Eddie Deerfield, Matthew Deinhardt, Wendell Deinhardt, Edie Eckber, Evelyn Edelman, Lydia Feinberg, Heather Felser, Linda Fine, Harry Fleisch, Myra Friedman, Mitchell Freifeld, Mark Gittimer, Michael Goudet, Leah Gottlieb, Glenda Greenman, Kenny John, Carrie Kaufman, Murray Koenigsberg, Lou Quall, Elaine Lapin, Faye Malkin, Paulette Markowitz, Jonathan Marks, Aaron Mailer, Paul Messina, Marcia Mollet, Sandy Morganlander, Alan Morgenstern, Alan Nassiter, Bella Uziel, Danny Pilder, Teresa Reese, Bob Rosen, Hal Rosenberg, Reese Rosenthal, Stephanie Ross, Andrew Schiller, Mark Schwartz, Lori Sarah, Mark Sarah, Andrew Shapiro, Betty Sharp, Desmond Silva, Mary Sivan, Sue Schoenbaum, Jeff Starr, Nan Strauss, Benjamin Turner, Rich Ulrich, George Wend, Michael Yannick, and Martin Young. If there are any other names to add for healing at this time, feel free to recite their names aloud or in your hearts.
I'd like to add Jeff Stark.
Misheberach avotenu mikor habracha limortenu. May the source of strength, who blessed
There's a story about the late Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who led the Chabad Lubavitch movement for many years, one of the largest Orthodox Hasidic groups known widely for its outreach. One evening, Rabbi Schneerson, who was known simply as the Rebbe, the rabbi, was being driven by one of his young students to a Sukkot retreat in the Catskills region of New York. For many years, the Rebbe had been driven by other people, but suddenly decided, tonight, I'd like to drive myself. So he requested that the driver stop so they could switch places. The young driver felt he couldn't refuse Rabbi Schneerson. He was the Rebbe, after all. So he allowed the Rebbe to take the driver's seat while he got in the back. Evidently, the last car that the Rebbe drove was an economy-level stick shift in Europe. So he had a ball with the quick-shifting automatic, the power locks, the power windows, all the bells and whistles, even air conditioning. In no time at all, the Rebbe was doing about 95, making like Richard Petty on the New York Thruway. And wouldn't you know it, a state trooper soon pulled him over. The jackbooted trooper walked over, licked his finger, and turned the page of the ticket book. But as soon as he reached the driver's window, he froze and mumbled, "Just wait here for a minute." The trooper hurried back to his car, got on the radio to his sergeant, and reported a very serious problem. He said, "I just pulled over a very important person. What should I do?" The sergeant asked, "Did you pull over the senator again?" "No, this guy's more important." "You didn't stop the governor, did you?" "No." "The president?" "Of course not. But this person is really important, but I'm not quite sure who he is." "Well, how do you know that this person in the back is so important?" "Well, whoever he is, he's got the Lubavitcher Rebbe as a chauffeur." It's a pretty good story. Whether or not it's true or not, we'll never know. But it's a Sukkot story nonetheless. And tonight we celebrate the festival of Sukkot, which is also called booths or tabernacles or even Zman Simchatenu, which is Hebrew for the season of our joy. I always look forward to putting up my sukkah at home and enjoying the outdoors. Earlier this week, I spent time right outside there with the Brotherhood as they put up our temple sukkah, which is an order of magnitude larger than the sukkah that I have at home, but it's from the same company, no less. Sukkot is all about bringing people together and welcoming guests. It's a wonderful, hands-on holiday that's great for kids as well as adults. Alas, this year there's a little bit of an irony because there won't be large gatherings or a large oneg or large dinner in the sukkah. The sukkah is a very simple structure: 4 walls, some type of doorway, and an open roof. Yet we elevate this shelter with our hands and our hearts, which makes it into a sacred space. In a normal year, Sukkot is the perfect time to practice the Jewish value of hachnasat orchim, hospitality, like Abraham and Sarah did in the desert many thousands of years ago. It's a time for big tent Judaism, where we can welcome not only temple members, the regulars who attend services, but also those on the periphery of Jewish life, as well as those who are interested in Judaism and our congregation. Many of us are familiar with the Arba Minim, the 4 species, which I showed in the beginning: the yellow etrog or citron, the lulav or palm branch, the arava or willow, and the hadass or myrtle, which always reminds me of my wife, my beshert, whose Hebrew name is Hadassah. The sukkah and the 4 species are the primary symbols of this 7 or 8-day week-long festival. And the principal mitzvot or obligations are waving the lulav and etrog together in the sukkah and also dwelling in the sukkah, called leshev ba'sukkah in Hebrew and eating just a little bit of food. This year, we are opening up our temple sukkah right outside for guests to enjoy dinner every evening from Sunday to Thursday. It's a great opportunity to come together as a family or with friends beneath the starry sky. There are 2 seatings every evening, which sounds very fancy, one at 5 p.m. and the other at 6 p.m., but with a maximum of 12 folks per seating. And it's heartening to know that well over half of the slots are taking up. And I'll be there some of the evenings, and Gail Maller, our religious school director, will be there some of the evenings. But tonight I'd like to share with you a meaningful yet lesser-known custom of the festival of Sukkot, which is the ritual of inviting ushpizin, or mystical guests, into the sukkah. Ushpizin is a plural word. It's Aramaic for guests. The Zohar, the Book of Splendor, one of the earliest Jewish mystical texts, describes a practice of inviting 7 guests of appointment to join in the festivities. Not a surprise, they're all men. The original lineup included Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Joseph, King David. But over the years, there have been a wide variety of names suggested for these mystical guests. Jewish women who have widened the tent, like the prophets Miriam and Devorah, Golda Meir, the former prime minister of Israel, and very recently, the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Because they're female, in Aramaic, they're called ushpizot. Some people also choose to invite significant non-Jewish leaders like Abraham Lincoln or Martin Luther King Jr. In reality, the only limitation to who your guests are is your imagination. Sukkot is the time to welcome and reach out to those around us. So I've been thinking, who would I like to invite as ushpizin or ushpizot this year? So the following are my 7 choices, but I'd also be very happy to hear about yours. You can email me or call me. I mean it. My mystical guest list includes some famous biblical personages as well as modern heroes. Some are well known, while others are more of a historical footnote. Yet I believe they're all important, and I think all of them would be a great addition to any Sukkot dinner or gathering. Just imagine the conversations we could have with the following guests. The first one would be the unnamed daughter, Bat Pharaoh, the unnamed daughter of the Pharaoh of Egypt. This is the woman who raised Moses as her own son, and it's important to note that she was well aware of Moses' background as a Hebrew and personally knew Yocheved, Moses' birth mother. The second guest, Ezra the scribe, he lived about 2,400 years ago, the one who brought Torah to the mainstream. In marketplaces and public areas, Ezra read and interpreted Torah, making its teachings widely available to the entire community. It was Ezra that started the tradition of reading Torah 3 times a week, Monday and Thursday, the traditional market days, and of course on Shabbat, a custom that continues today. The third guest would be from the story of Ruth, Naomi. She was Ruth's mother-in-law who took the opportunity to welcome her daughter into the Jewish community. Naomi was truly a heroine and a model of hachnasat orchim, of hospitality. The fourth guest would be Zipporah. Zipporah was Moses' first wife and the daughter of the Midianite priest Jethro. She led Moses to Jethro, who was a great leadership coach and was instrumental in Moses' development as the one who shepherded the Israelite people. And now for some modern guests. The fifth guest would be Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. As word of her passing spread right before Rosh Hashanah, the first question on people's minds were, when is she going to be buried? The answer, after she was given the unique honor of lying in state in the U.S. Capitol, the first woman and first Jew to have this distinction. Justice Ginsburg truly deserved this accolade and honor. She was a pioneer for women in the field of law and jurisprudence and an inspiration to thousands of individuals. And in case you're wondering, she remained in the Capitol Rotunda with a closed wooden casket in accordance to Jewish tradition. The fifth and sixth guests that I would invite are musical, Debbie Friedman and Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. These two musicians were very, very different, yet they're still among the most important influences in Jewish music today. They both excelled at bringing Judaism and Jewish music to a much wider audience. Their presence and their voice brought great spirit and great joy into our worship and continues to inspire many in the Reform movement and beyond. For my seventh and final guest, I would invite my late grandma, Elsie. She died a few years ago, but I think about her quite often. She was blessed with a wicked sense of humor and was incredibly sweet to me. Graham Cracker, as I called her, was a great cook. She made seriously good matzah brie, chocolate chip cookies, and my favorite that she made, mandel bread. I used to love visiting her and my late grandfather, Sam, in Brooklyn growing up. It's about a 2.5-hour drive or so. I think most of all, I'd like to see her one more time, see that big smile, and tell her again how much she means to me. So I ask you, who will be your Ushpizin and Ushpizot, your Sukkot guests this year? What mystical individuals would you like to add and invite to your sukkah? Give it some thought and let me know. You may even be surprised at who's on your list. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. We're going to continue with the words of Aleinu, the adoration. Please rise as the ark is opened. We're continuing on 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני נלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Feel free to be seated. The words of Mourner's Kaddish are found on page 294. As we call to mind families in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning a loved one. We think of Dr. Hanley Horowitz, our temple member, Anita Cohen, mother of our member Stephen Cohen, Vera Fish, mother of our member Michael Fish, and Barbara Kushner-Endy. We also mark with a sense of love and affection the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones of the following individuals: Diana Arditi, Rose Bartoldi, Max Fagel, Gerald Galati, Stroll Goldstein, Norman Gottfried, Joseph Greenberg, Jack Herman, Reva Kent, Larry Kent, Mildred Moskowitz, Richard Park, Benjamin Patchen, Martha Reesberg, Sarah Rosen, Rita Schall, Oscar Schiffman, Alice Tave, Stanley Wayne, Fred Werner, Warren Wilson, Joshua Zisman. Are there any other names to add for Yahrzeit at this time? Can we say Zichronam Livracha, and the memories of these good people continue to be a loving benediction as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise together, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei bi'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach le'alam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbehata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and the world, as we say, amen.
V'miru, 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 amen. V'miru, 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 amen.
Free to be seated. For those of you who are going to be joining us beneath the sukkah, we'll have the lulav and etrog set. You should know that this year we ordered the ones without the piton, without the tip, which is great because once you break the tip, then you're not supposed to use it for the rest of Sukkot. But if it didn't have it in the first place, kind of like a seedless watermelon, then you're all good. We're going to continue with the Kiddush and Motzi. The Kiddush is on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki banu b'charta b'yotanu kidasha mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen.
Chaim to life. voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, motzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Say b'te'avo and good appetite. Our closing song today, to continue the theme of shelter and Sukkot, is Ufros Elena, which means shelter us with God's tabernacle of peace. You'll find it on the screen before you. If you have your prayer book, it's on page 343. Prayer for keeping healthy and guarding our bodies and our neshama, our souls. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah to protect life. Stay safe, stay healthy, have a wonderful Shabbat and a beautiful week of Sukkot, celebrating the fall harvest. Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach.